Chapter 80. Listen and repeat. Conversation. He'd talked to the personnel manager before they appointed him. They'd surveyed the area before they planned the new motorway. He'd checked over the car before he took it out for a trial run. They'd delivered the mail before he left the office. Before they appointed him, he'd talked to the personnel manager. Before they planned the new motorway, they'd surveyed the area. Before he took the car out for a trial run, he'd checked it over. Before he left the office, they'd delivered the mail. What did he do first? First, he talked to the personnel manager. What happened then? Then they appointed him. When did he talk to the personnel manager? He'd talked to the personnel manager before they appointed him. When did they appoint him? They appointed him after he'd talked to the personnel manager. What did they do first? First, they watched the news on TV. What did they do then? Then they had dinner. When did they watch the news on TV? They'd watched the news on TV before they had dinner. When did they have dinner? They had dinner after they'd watched the news on TV. She'd studied shorthand before she got the job. She got the job after she'd studied shorthand. He'd read the letters before he left the office. He left the office after he'd read the letters. What was John doing? He was attending the university. What year was he in? He was in his 3rd year. What had he been specializing in? He'd been specializing in economics. What else had he been taking? He'd also been taking a lot of required subjects. What did he want to do? After he'd studied economics for a term, he wanted to change his course. What did he decide? He decided he was interested in psychology. What had he been reading? He'd been reading about psychiatric work. What about his marks? He hadn't been getting very good marks in economics. When could he change his course? He couldn't change his course until he'd talked to his tutor. When did he see his tutor? He saw his tutor the day before the spring term began. What did his tutor say? His tutor approved the change. What did John do then? After he'd seen his tutor, he joined some psychology classes. Vocabulary. Agony assignment. Bachelor's degree. Behavior. Capital. Cause. Comfort. Cracked. Dedicated. Delinquent. Deprived. Economics. Educational. Even if exhausted. Fragment. Good-looking. Increasingly. Intensely. Londoner. Loose. Misery. Nervous. News magazine. Over. Police station. Psychiatric. Psychological. Psychology. Qualification. Regional. Registration. Seldom. Social. Sociology. Such as. Tense. Term. Tutor. Welfare. Welfare office. Welfare worker. Verbs. To be aware of. To be wrapped up in something / someone. To boil. To bring up. To come across. To follow up. To get away from. To get out of. To give up. To investigate. To run something. To straighten out. To urge. Insights. Bachelor's degree. This is the lower-level university qualification obtainable in Great Britain. British universities award academic titles at different levels. The level following the bachelor's degree is the master's degree, equals laurea. Over. This preposition can have several meanings related to both space and time. It may indicate a position above an object. In this meaning, over is the opposite of under. B. Movement across or over something. C. A position beyond or past a reference point. D. surpassing a certain point, even figuratively. When referring to time, it indicates that the action lasts for the entire period mentioned. Seldom. This is an adverb of frequency and follows the general rule for this kind of adverbs. It precedes main verbs and follows auxiliary verbs. Reading. Anna Brown is the kind of good-looking young woman, she's 26 years old, that you would expect to come across in a suburban shopping center or a city department store. But instead, you will find her in such places as police stations, juvenile courts, or crowded housing estates. Anna isn't down on her luck. Her job takes her to those places. Anna is a welfare worker, one of hundreds of people who work in one way or another with people who need help. Some welfare workers investigate cases for city and regional welfare offices. Others run educational or recreational programs in deprived areas. Anna is a caseworker who is assigned to a juvenile court. Juveniles frequently get into trouble, particularly when they are allowed to run loose on the streets of a big city. When the cause of the trouble is considered to be social or psychological, a caseworker is assigned by the court to follow up the behavior of the young delinquent, to try to help the delinquent straighten out his life and stay out of trouble. Anna is very much a Londoner. She has lived all her life in the capital, and her family still live in Wimbledon. Even though she was brought up in comfort, Anna was intensely aware of the misery always present in any large city. She attended the University of London, she has a bachelor's degree in sociology, and has done a 2-year professional training course in social work. 3 years ago, she took the job she now has. At the same time, she moved out of her parents' house into a flat which she shares with 2 other women. One of them works for a news magazine. The other teaches art at a comprehensive school. Anna sees so much of the agony and misery of life in the city that she is becoming increasingly tense and withdrawn herself. She seldom enjoys the pleasant features of life in London, such as theaters, concerts, and museums. She spends most of the day at the juvenile court or with her cases, trying to piece together the cracked and broken fragments of their lives. In the evening and over the weekend, she works on the reports that she has to write on each of her cases. Anna's roommates have become worried because Anna is so wrapped up in her work that she isn't getting any fun out of life. And when Anna herself relaxes for a few minutes, she realizes how exhausted she is. Her roommates are urging her to make a change in her life, even if it is only returning to university to get a higher degree in psychology. They know that Anna is too dedicated to her work to give it up completely, but they would like to see her get away from it for a while. The expression caseworker refers to a social worker who deals with specific cases. The sentence, Anna is very much a Londoner, can be translated as, Anna è una tipica londinese. In the sentence, her family still live in Wimbledon, note that the noun family takes a plural verb. This is common with collective nouns. The expression, so much of the agony and misery, is partitive and corresponds to the Italian, tanto dolore e miseria. In the sentence, even if it is only returning to university to get a higher degree in psychology, the word returning, the ing form of to return, is used as a noun. The entire phrase can be translated as, even if it's only going back to university to get a higher degree in psychology. Comprehension exercise. How old is Anna Brown? She is 26 years old. What kind of places does her job take her to? Her job takes her to police stations, juvenile courts, and crowded housing estates. What kind of work does she do? She is a welfare worker. What kind of things do welfare workers do? They investigate cases or run educational and recreational programs in deprived areas. What is Anna's assignment? She is assigned to a juvenile court. What does a caseworker try to do for a delinquent? To help the delinquent straighten out his life and stay out of trouble. Where does Anna's family live? Her family still live in Wimbledon. What has Anna always been aware of? She has always been aware of the misery present in big cities. What qualifications does Anna have? She has a bachelor's degree in sociology and a 2-year professional training course in social work. How long has she had her present job? She has had her present job for 3 years. What did she do at the time she took the job? She moved out of her parents' house and into a flat she shares with 2 women. What do Anna's roommates do? One works for a news magazine, the other teaches art at a comprehensive school. Why is Anna becoming tense and nervous? Because she sees so much suffering and misery in her work. How does she spend most of the day? She spends most of the day at the juvenile court or visiting her cases. What does she do in the evening and over the weekend? She writes reports on each of her cases. Why are Anna's roommates worried about her? Because she is so wrapped up in her work that she doesn't enjoy life anymore. What are they urging her to do? They are urging her to make a change in her life, even if it's only going back to university. Grammar past perfect tense, simple. He had looked for another job for a long time. Anne had talked on the phone all day. I had written 5 letters by lunchtime. Past perfect tense, progressive. He had been looking for another job for a long time. Anne had been talking on the phone all day. I had been writing letters all morning and felt tired. The progressive form of the past perfect progressive, is formed with had been plus the ing form of the verb. Like the past perfect, this tense indicates an action that took place before another past moment used as a reference point. However, it differs because it expresses an action in progress, not a completed one. In Italian, there is no specific verb tense corresponding to the past perfect progressive. Depending on the context, it can be translated with the imperfect, the trapassato prossimo, or with a periphrasis expressing continuity. Let's review together subordinate clauses. That clauses. I knew that he was wrong. Clauses of reason. Winnie can't attend the school because she's ill. Since we hadn't any money, we couldn't buy anything to eat. Clauses of time. I'll tell you all the news when I get back home. Clauses of purpose. They wrote the notices in several languages so that foreign tourists could understand them. Clauses of result. It's such a good chance that we mustn't miss it. Clauses of condition. If Mary doesn't want the strawberries, you can have them. I won't go there unless you come with me. Clauses of concession. Though he is poor, he is happy. They won't come even if you ask them. Subordinate clauses summary. Let's summarize in this chart some of the most common explicit subordinate clauses introduced by subordinating conjunctions, most of which are already known. That clauses, declarative clauses. The conjunction that introduces both object clauses, including in indirect speech, and subject clauses. Clauses of reason, causal clauses. These answer questions introduced by why and can begin with because, usually following the main clause, or since, usually preceding it. Clauses of time, temporal clauses. Introduced by when, a specific time, while simultaneity, as soon as and after, anteriority, before, posteriority, till/until, expectation. Clauses of purpose, final clauses, introduced by so that. Clauses of result, result clauses, introduced by that, usually preceded in the main clause by so or such. Clauses of condition, conditional clauses, introduced by if, affirmative, or unless, negative. They express the condition under which the main clause takes place. Clauses of concession, concessive clauses, Introduced by even if, though, although, even though, the last being emphatic. Comprehension Exercise 1. She's 26 years old. 2. Her job takes her to such places as police stations, juvenile courts, or crowded housing estates. 3. She's a welfare worker. 4. Some welfare workers investigate cases for city and regional welfare offices. Others run educational or recreational programs in deprived areas. 5. Anna is a caseworker who is assigned to a juvenile court. 6. A caseworker tries to help the delinquent straighten out his life and stay out of trouble. 7. Anna's family live in Wimbledon. 8. She has always been aware of the misery present in any large city. 9. She has a bachelor's degree in sociology and has done a 2-year professional training course in social work. 10. She's had her present job for 3 years. 11. At the time she took the job, she moved out of her parents' house into a flat which she shares with 2 other women. 12. One of Anna's roommates works for a news magazine. The other teaches art at a comprehensive school. 13. She is becoming tense and nervous because she sees so much of the agony and misery of life in the city. 14. She spends most of the day at the juvenile court or with her cases. 15. In the evening and over the weekend, she works on the reports that she has to write on each of her cases. 16. They're worried about her because she is so wrapped up in her work that she isn't getting any fun out of life. 17. They're urging her to make a change in her life.